of the Ebonics, nice, the Ebonics. Let's zoom in on the word hooker, okay? What are they trying to hook you into? This is very key, think about it. Well, it's basically a system where, there's rich people, rich whites, Jews, Asians. Basically, those are considered the big three groups. And then there's token minorities that get rich, like Oprah, Russell Simmons, Michael Jordan, what have you, okay? These are the exceptions that don't make the rule. You have a long history of all white fraternities. You have a few black people in the fraternity. Magically, does racism not exist in that fraternity? No. Okay. So they're in the continuity of racist systems of sexual control. Breeding was part of slavery. Some people were indentured servants, and they had a low social status, like the Irish, and they were taken advantage of, and things of this nature. Okay. So we look at things like being a fake gangster. Why do people pretend to be gangsters? When I was first making my videos, I was trying to reach out to gangsters. I was putting a little bit extra on it, okay, because at the time was what I thought was logical. Now I tell nothing but the pure truth. Okay, I see that it was a mistake. It was and it wasn't though, but it was also the expected path of the hero. What was I supposed to do? Okay, nobody was going to stand with me. I hung out with gangsters all my life. I knew if I pushed that line hard enough, they might start grouping together for God. I perceived my importance, and I hadn't quite pinpointed it yet. Eventually, I would say that I'm a prince of Judah, which in turn, and I would describe it as Ra Day. The J is like a fishing hook. Okay, it can be the Y or the So Y alpha or the alpha. So you have a bunch of nerds saying Y alpha. Nerd can be scrambled as NRD. So N meaning Lord in Sumerian, and RD road, or E meaning temple in Sumerian. So the Lord, the nerd temple, and the road. So you look at the rich people, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, so on and so forth. They're basically nerds. The rich crass-wearing guys, the nobles, whatever you want to call them, nerds. The rich frat guys, nerds. The school system, nerds. School backwards is looks. So going back to the idea of the system, right? It's a psychological construct that favors, white people, and they don't like talking about it. Even when I'm making my videos, I can imagine them saying, hey, don't talk about that, right? It's kind of part of social control. So white fragility, right? They're fragile mentally. They don't want to face the fact that they're not manning up, okay? And I'm not racist. And we look at the word settler and set and settling in a throne that's not yours and setting people up, setting the stage. Whites is a play on words for why set. Why are they doing this to you? Why did they slaughter the Native Americans? Why did they colonize the world? Because they believe in settling, and they use the principles of evil and deceit to do so. And I'm not saying every white person ever was pure evil, but their culture, their way of doing things. I'm sure we can all agree slavery was evil, and of all the slaves in the world, white slavery was particularly vicious and evil, and particularly destructive, and was this massive slave trade. Now, these people didn't transport millions of people across the world on ships, okay, where they're in a cellar and they're dying on the way. When we look at the details of it, it was the most evil form of slavery known to man that ever was, hands down, okay? The Native American genocide, some estimates estimate they killed 1/5 of the people on the planet, on the entire planet. We'll look at the World War II, 60 million dead. So they nowhere, no how, have the moral high ground. Their tree is a bad tree of rape and murder and deceiving and lying about God. They used to, in the name of God, hang black people for telling the truth about God or for challenging their kind of pagan-derived system. There's no excuse for it. It is evil. It is unfair. Once they settle, hundreds of years goes by, and all of a sudden you see people who don't know who they are. They kept black people from reading. They gave them new names. They confused them about their identity. And then they said, hey, if you want to be accepted in your poor neighborhoods, those black people who are poor or lower middle class, lower class, etc., you're better off being a thug. And some people were kind of middle class, or they moved somewhere else from California or something, and they wanted to get respect, so they lied about being a thug, okay? In a society that was unfair, hooker, right? It's a hook ear society. The women of the Greco-Roman system, just like in the Middle East with Asherah, Astarte, Anat, Ishtar, Inanna, etc., these were prostitute cults. Ishtar had transvestite priests, and they did sexual activities. The tree of knowledge to them, Inanna, the Ishtar, was a sexual tree first and foremost. These were secret or secrete societies. And Crete, King Minos is said to be the father of homosexuality, the son of Zeus, and the guy who ordered the labyrinth to be made, a mental labyrinth. So they made a system which core is sexual control and reinventing oneself in relative to the Greco-Roman mysteries derived from Crete and ultimately from the witchcrafts people in Africa. And that's a long story why that is. And then they said, you are nobody. And we're going to make women attractive and wear bras and all this stuff and tight outfits and cleavage and all this stuff. And we're going to make a sexualized culture, have rap videos. And they say, hey, if you say you're a gangster and you're not, you're this horrible person, the cops are going to talk down to you. But they're fake heroes. They're fake good guys. They're not heroes. They're not good guys. No more than the slave patrol was. No more than the Nazi concentration camps was. No more than the people who said the Native Americans were savages and raped and killed them and said that they had a divine destiny that they were trying to manifest. You know, so the philosophies that led up to manifest destiny, that were basically the white man is right, white is right, and everything else is wrong, and black is dark and evil. Okay, they're wrong. And when they say you're playing the race card to combat it, when you're trying to do the right thing and correct them, and they don't say this is exactly why you're right, instead they say, oh, he's playing the race card, they're more wrong than before. They didn't just win a victory. They emasculated themselves more. I use the white man's relationship with his technology and his gyms and his fancy diet, you know, the white-skinned people, to the colored people they oppressed. It's like the colonists raping people. You have their guns, they're beating and raping women, and they're like, look, I'll tell this little bitch, come here right now, bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it's pathetic. They're more emasculated. You just threw your weight around with a musket, a bunch of people who are starving and skinny with spears and bows and arrows, and you think you're a man. And then you made a system with your technology and said, I'm the white man around here, throwing your weight around. It's pitiful. It's immature. It's childish. It's pathetic. No way, no how is that a road to being a man. Then you have the nerve to raise your children every generation to be that kind of a pitiful, sniveling worm. It is pathetic. So when I look back at even when here I am the most righteous man alive, okay, the ugly duckling effect. And I feel the need to put extras on being a gangster, which is far beneath me. Okay, I hung out with gangsters. I went the distance to be a gangster. I networked with gangsters across America and to some degree across the world somewhere, somehow. I mean, if I remember correctly, I can't quite remember that part that well. But certainly in Texas, I collaborated with them. Across the country in New York, I touched bases with them, and I started expanding the network as this identity. I started my own crew when I was younger, but we weren't really gangsters as such. We were kind of people that needed to kind of come together to defend ourselves from society and gangsters and people trying to rip us off and, you know, trying to figure out, you know, trying to help each other out. They basically told the people in my crew, don't help this guy out. Why? Because they knew who I am. Okay, they knew that I am God's son and that they're from a long line of cults whose foundation is getting everyone to shun God's son to show allegiance to the devil. The devil leads everyone astray. Alpha stray, number one. Who is the number one go-to guy for God? It's the top martial artist. If he's gone and no one's worthy to replace him, humanity is sealed in hell. Their fate is sealed. Seal and deal. Deal is lead, scrambled, day, L, scrambled. The sun, okay, Psalm 19, and so on and so forth. Judges and so on, and Ecclesiastes and so on and so forth. Malachi and Revelation. I am the root and the offspring of David, the warrior king, and the bright morning star, which is the sun, but to them in the pagan cults, it is Ishtar. Superimposing herself on the sun, she was known as the bright morning star, just like Lucifer, and we have chemical connections to this phosphorus. Okay. So, what does it mean to be fake? F-A-Key. Okay, Key is G, the Sumerian, Mesopotamian, and Greco-Roman earth deity. Okay, so if you think in terms of this world, you're pretending that there's no God, you're a fake-ass motherfucker. In fact, fake is also a play on words for F-E-K-A. Ka, look it up. is a word for spirit. So they're saying you can't use your spirit. You have to instead be in the world energy. And a lot of martial arts systems use this idea. Okay, they talk about chi, and they also call it ki. And that's not a coincidence. A lot of these people are with the liberals with Save the Earth and so on and so forth, and Gaia and Mother Gaia and all this type of stuff. Okay, so when you look at a system that says, you know, you can't get an attractive woman if you're a physically fit, handsome guy unless you reinvent yourself. Okay, so they can hook you to their philosophy and hook, you know, and draw you in, right? Bait and switch. Okay, it is a hooker system. It is a slut system. It is a hoe system. And it is a bitch-ass nerd, sage, mage, wizard, right, system. Math whiz, whiz kid. From the root word of wizard, we get witten and wizzo. Sage, to know. They say he knows what he's doing because he sucks a geek dick. It's like, I use the example of Marvin the Martian, we'll leave it here, where people say, you know, if you tried that, I'd blow you away because I have this AK-47, or I have this pistol. Well, I have this AK-47. Well, I'm in the military and I know how to shoot weapons, and my boyfriend's a Marine. And as you follow that train of thought, you get some geek-ass Marvin the Martian looking motherfucker saying, well, I'm a weapons manufacturer, and my secret society runs the world, and I'm the toughest guy around. That's some bitch-ass shit. Some bitch-ass shit. Some bitch-ass shit. Say it with me. Some bitch-ass shit. Being a nerd and pretending you're more manly than the top martial artists, or more ideal, say it with me, is some bitch-ass shit. Some bitch-ass shit. And part of the reason why it's some bitch-ass shit, because the heart of their culture is pederasty. Zeus and Ganymede, the king of the gods, would groom a child and fuck him in the ass. And that kid would grow up and say, well, I'm a nerd, and that makes me the toughest of all. Because he bent over willingly with a smile on his face, so he could be someone important in society. If you look at them carefully, you see their lack of masculinity as a result of a long line of privileged bitch-ass motherfuckers. Oh, Epstein-ass pussies.